Chris Wallace, welcome back to Brian and the Judge. You have a international debate to referee.
First in Florida. I love the way Fox News, first GOP debate, first in the fall, now it's first in New Hampshire. Next week we're going to have first in your hometown. I think, and I know people are getting a little tired of these debates, I think this is going to be a really interesting debate because over the course of the last 2 weeks, it's like everybody has suddenly realized, my gosh, people are really going to start voting in a couple of months, and they are engaging with each other and really going after each other in terms of who's the real Republican, who's the real conservative. My job on Sunday is to get them to say to each other's faces what they've been saying behind each other's backs, and I think it's going to be slam, bang, fireworks. I really think it's going to be something.
All right, so when you go together and put this debate together, it was kind of refreshing. It was a little refreshing to hear them talk business for a change and not just keep dwelling on Iraq. When you put this debate together, do you get together with Britt and with Wendell Goler and say, okay, what questions are you going to ask? What topics are you going to flush out?
Yes, as opposed to you and the judge or you and Steve Ducey, I actually get along with my colleagues. And so we are going to sit down together, Brian, and we respect each other. We've had several meetings already, and I have to say, this is the scene behind the scene. Britt is a believer that on the day of the debates, and we've done this in South Carolina, we did it in New Hampshire, we're doing it. It's going to be a gorgeous day in Florida on Sunday, but we're going to sit in a hotel room for about 4 hours, and we sit there and we go over the questions, and we and people will say, well, if he says this, what do you say back? Yeah, it's all divided up. I'm going to do one topic area, and Wendell's going to do another. Carl Cameron's going to be there, and Lord knows he always knows how to put a landmine underneath the vehicle. So it'll be a very interesting and I suspect spirited debate.
Let's go off topic for just a minute. Nancy Pelosi, in 1 week, had to pull the genocide resolution, had to pull her version of a new FISA law, had perhaps her wackiest members say the president enjoys seeing people's heads blown up. What kind of leadership is she exercising over there?
Well, it hasn't been a good week for her. And this remark by Pete Stark, and I'm sure you've been talking about it, but I've been struggling to think of how to describe it. It's obscene. I mean, it's obscene to suggest, let alone to flat out say and declare that the president, somehow finds amusement or a pastime in watching Americans be killed. It's about as ugly as it gets. And why the Democrats wouldn't have rushed to condemn the remark or to say that it should be stricken from the record is crazy because, we're all talking about that when it would be much more to the Democrats' advantage, even though they lost on the veto override on S-CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program. I think they have the better political side, not necessarily substantive side, but the better political side of that argument. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Pete Stark's ugly, obscene remark.
I don't know who the pairing was, and that's kind of a disclaimer before I ask the question, but one thing you allowed happen at the last debate was I think one candidate called out the other.
Yeah, it was Huckabee and Ron Paul.
That was awesome because because like they say, a good referee should not be seen. You should not know who's umpiring the game. Can we get more of that rather than interrupting? This is my time. I saw a lot with Matthews. I love to see these guys engage each other because then they get off the script.
I couldn't agree with you more. No, I have to say one of the things that I think Britt and I very strongly feel is that these debates are not about us, they're about the candidates. And we've allowed that to happen before.
Well, you do it better than anybody. You allowed Rudy and
Ron Paul
to go at each other 3 or 4 debates ago.
They don't do it. I don't mean to dump on Chris Matthews. Well, I don't mind dumping on Chris Matthews.
Oh, please dump on him.
But in the last debate on CNBC last week, when Romney started to deliver the line to Thompson, which you knew it was going to be a practice line, but you knew it was also going to be entertaining, where he said, Senator, these debates are just like Law and Order. And the soundbite was blown because Matthews is in the background saying, Senator, interrupting rather than let it play out.
And it was the funniest line of the whole night.
Absolutely.
Even though it was rehearsed, it was hilarious because it was true.
No, what you try to do is you try to get them going, and then when they, it's like, frankly, when I'm doing the panel every week on Fox News Sunday, there's nothing I like better than when Britt and Juan and Bill Kristol are going at each other. I just sit back in my chair and say my job is done. done now and let them go at it for 3 or 4 minutes.
Chris, finally, what's so bad about exile that Benazir Bhutto would want to go back into that cauldron which is in Pakistan? You've been on exile for a while. Is it boring?
Did you really have to take 15 minutes to get a comeback?
You mean Chris's years at another network were exile?
Or no, he thinks when I'm not with him, I'm the next. No, listen, I think that she's a true patriot, and I think she wants to help reestablish democracy. I'll tell you, that's the biggest story in the world right now because, we talk about Iran. Iran is trying to develop and is some years away from developing nuclear capability, let alone missiles. Pakistan already has them, and you've got a country with nuclear weapons and warheads and missiles that is unbelievably unstable right now. You've got the democratic movement, you've got the military trying to maintain control, you've got the Taliban and Al-Qaeda doing their worst. And this is one of our main partners in the war on terror, and they are a tinderbox right now.
Chris Wallace, yes or no, as we play the music out, Joe Torre, should he have walked away or should he have said $5 million is good enough for me?
No, I think they wanted him not to do it. It was undignified. Guy spends 12 years, gets in the playoffs every year to offer him a single incentive-laden year contract. I think he should have left.
You're the man.
And they wanted him to
agree on
You
something.
are, Chris. Chris, we are going to be watching you all 15 hours that you're on Sunday.
The busiest man in show business on Sunday.
And it is a big show.
And rightly so. Chris Wallace, thanks very much.
Bye, guys.
Just a couple of guys who love talking to you about the news. Brian and the Judge on Fox News Talk.